Hey guys, it's Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Got a great song from Tesla today. We're learning how to do love songs. So this has got a really cool intro, which has a lot of overdubbed guitar parts, and I'm just going to be covering that part that I just played for the intro. So if you're trying to look for all those, layers and overdubs and harmonies and stuff, this video is not going to have it. So just wanted to put you, just warn you there. We're going to have that kind of the foundation of it all, the main part. And all that extra stuff I'm going to skip because you really need about 6 guitar players to make it sound right anyway. So I'm just basically going to be playing what Frank Hannon plays live there. So his part, which is the main part. But then we're going to go through the whole song, all the chords, progressions of the song. We're going to kind of cover just on acoustic guitar. Then we're going to pick up the electric and do both of Frank Hannon's awesome guitar solos. There's some great, the main solo of this is like just an amazing solo. So we're going to do Frank Hannon's main solo and his outro solo note for note as well. So hopefully you'll be following along for the whole thing. Now, before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel, of course, if you have not already. Ring the notification bell and all that good stuff. And if you really like what I do here on YouTube and you want to kind of maybe interested in checking out my guitar courses, you'll see a link to my Guitar Academy in the description below, and that link will give you a free 7-day trial. My academy contains all my courses, which are like complete courses from complete beginner courses to more advanced courses in technique, improvisation, ear training, theory, guitar tone, and everything. And you get personalized support from me. So please click that link and go check it out. All right, let's jump into the song. So I'm in standard tuning here. And like I said, we have this intro that's got a lot going on in it. And I'm just going to be doing the kind of foundation, the main part that Frank Hannon is playing here. So we're going to start like this. Now, I will say that when I see him play this live, he finger picks it. And then there's a couple of, like a part in it when he does that, he'll switch to a pick real quick, and then he'll throw the pick out in the crowd and just continue the intro without it. I don't have a crew with me to give me new picks whenever I need it. So I'm kind of hybrid picking it. So it works either way. So if you like finger picking it, do that way. But as you notice, I'm hybrid picking it. So let's start here. We have this. So that's going to be the open D string with the 8th fret there on the B. So I'm picking, if you're hybrid picking it, you're just picking that with the D string with your pick. And then just probably your middle finger, you'll be picking the B string. Then what we're going to do is, as you let that D string continue to ring, you're going to pick that 8, pull off to 7, slide down to 5. And then pick the D string again, and along with the 7th fret on the B string. And you slide that down, that 7th fret there on the B, down to the 3rd fret, and then pick it a few times there at the 3rd fret. So like this. And then what I think is probably another guitar doing this part, but we can do it since it's nothing else going on. You're coming up here to the 14th fret on the high E string, and you pick this, pull off to 12, pull off to 10. Hopefully that's not out of the shot here. And then we get to the main part here. So that's going to start with the open D string with the 2nd fret there on the high E. Then play the 3rd fret on the high E string. And then what you're going to do is go back to the 2nd fret, hammer 3, pull back off to 2, pull off to the open string. So this. So you do that, letting that D string ring underneath. Then we get to the next chord, which is going to be an A. So all you really need for that is just, you can do a bar, but really he's using a single note melody on top. The open A string with the 2, 3, 5 on the B. So you pick that 2 on the B string with your middle finger while you're picking the open A string. Then go up 3, 5 on the B string while playing that A ring. So we have this. Oh, do it again. All right, now from there, we go to a B minor chord. So now B minor is a bar chord, but we're just using the 4 middle strings, so not completely essential that you bar the whole thing or bar anything. You can just have the 2nd fret there on the A, 4th on the D and the G, and then 3rd on the B string. So we have this. So I'm picking the 2 outside strings, so the A string and the B string. I'm hybrid picking those. Then we're going to do a little picking pattern. So that's going to pick the D string, G, B, and G. So this. Then we're going to base this off of a G chord here, which is going to be down to the 3rd fret on the low E string for the next chord. So that's the root note that you'll pick. And then you have the open B string with it. Then go 2, 3 on the B, while still letting that G ring on in the bass here. So we have this all together. So you just gotta repeat that. Now the 4th time through, when you get to the B minor, we do this. So that is going to be the 2nd fret there on the A and the 3rd fret on the B. So that's just kind of the first, the outside notes of that B minor anyway. Then the open A string with the 2nd fret on the B string. Then you're going to jump over here to the 4th fret on the low E string. It's a little passing tone, so it sounds obviously out of key, but they're just doing a little chromatic movement in the bass. So we have this. So you're doing the 4th fret there on the low E with the 5th fret there on the B. And then you get down to this G chord, which is going to be the 3rd fret on the low E. And you're going to be picking the 3rd fret on the B together, those two together. And then with that same picking pattern we had on the B minor, we're going to do here on this chord, which is the D, G, B, G. So there's going to be that D and G strings are going to be open. So as I remember, it's that same pattern we did there. We're going to do it here. So we have this. And then we're going to go to an A major chord, so just hold the 2nd fret across the D, G, and the B, and the open A, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to pick the open A string, and then that 2nd fret there on the B, then that same picking pattern we just did. So. I'm sorry, like this. And then we're going to go to a D with F sharp at the bass. So it's a D major in first inversion. So he does it with his thumb on the low E string, 2nd fret. So what we're going to be doing here is holding the 3rd fret there on the B, 2nd fret there on the G string, and you're going to have the open D. So basically you're picking this F sharp in the bass, the 2nd fret on the low E, along with that 3rd fret there on the B string. And then that same picking pattern that we did before. And then once again do that. So basically do it twice on that chord. Now there is an overdub. You hear that going on like that, but that's an overdub guitar. We can just keep with this. It sounds fine. So we have this. Alright, now we go back to that, what we did over that G chord earlier. So that's the 3rd fret on the low E string with the open B, then 2, 3 on that chord. And then the same D over I'm sorry, D with F sharp in the bass. Now what we're going to do here is we're picking that F sharp in the bass, that second fret on the low E string, along with the second fret on the G. So those would be the first notes you hit. So that second fret there on the G and the low E together. And then you're going to be see how I'm barring this? Because I'm barring across the second fret of the B string as well. Because that's going to be the next melody note. So I'm picking now the B string, second fret, and then third fret on the B string. So this. So we have this. Then it goes to this. So that's the open E string. So it's pretty easy. Slide into the, you're going to pick the B string sliding into the 5th fret. Then go to 3 on the B string. And then do a quick hammer 2 to 3, pull back off to 2. And then we go back to the D with the F sharp in the bass. But that same figure that we just did a second ago, where we're picking the note on the G string first, then play the second fret on the B, and third fret on the B. So we have this. Alright, then we kind of start over that little figure, that G to the F sharp and the bass. So right here when we did that little over the low E, sliding up to the 5th fret, down to 3, and then what we're going to do here is play the open A string and the second fret there on the B together. And that's where we pause. And this is actually where Frank Hannon grabs a pick live. So he does this little fast little legato lick. So what we're doing here is we're playing this the 4th fret on the G, pulling off to 2, and pulling off to the open. So we repeat that like 4 times. So after you've done it 4 times, just kind of repeat it on one string. We're going to do the same lick, but take it across 3 strings. So we start once again, pulling 4-2-0 on the G, then 4-2-0 on the D, and 4-2-0 on the A. Basically do it twice. So, I know it's probably not the easiest thing to do on acoustic, especially. But so I just practice a lick until it feels pretty comfortable, and then try to start taking it across strings. So after you've done that across 3 strings twice, then we basically start the thing over, but he starts with a big strum with a D chord. And kind of play everything we did like we did before. This is like he's dropped his pick at this point, he's finger picking this. So that was kind of the same ending there, what we did. When we got to the A, this is when we go to the ending of this intro. Now this is kind of an approximation because there's a lot of things going on, so I'm just trying to pick up what's kind of the loudest in the mix. Not necessarily exactly what he's doing for this low kind of foundational part of the intro, but it sounds good just kind of strumming a normal D chord, and then hammering 3 to 5 on the B string, and then jumping up here. And it's good to kind of just mute the G string here, hit the open D string, and the 10th fret there on the B and the high E. So you can hear those 3 notes together, but so you just gotta mute that G string. Or you can just add that the D right here on the G if you don't want to mute it. Anyway, so that kind of takes care of the intro, and then we have kind of like the main riff of the song that comes in here. And this is on a 12-string electric, I think like a 12-string SG, like a double neck. the 12 string on it, but we have this. So leading into that, you hear this kind of the D string kind of hit a few times, and then we go into this figure. So that's going to start with this G major triad, basically, with the D and the bass. So that's going to be the 7th fret there on the G string, 8th fret on the B, and 7th fret on the high E string, with the open D there. Then we're going to scoot down. Let that D continue to ring. Now, I will say, when he's hitting this D, since it's a 12 string, there's another smaller string with it that is an octave higher. So you're hearing that D an octave higher as well at all times here with this D. So it could be deceiving, like he's always playing this note. But it's actually the open D string and its octave string that are doing that with the 12 string guitar. I will show you a little thing that we can do to kind of recreate that sound of that higher octave D. But for now, we'll just strum this. Then we go down to the 7th fret there on the B with this 5th fret on the high E string. Then move that down 2 frets, so it's 3rd fret on the high E, 5th fret on the B. So like this. And then come back up to the previous chord. And here, you can add that 7th fret there on the G, which I don't think he plays. When I see him play it live, he's kind of holding the D, letting the D ring, and he's playing just the top 2 strings. But if you add that note here, now you have that octave note that you hear on because of the 12 string guitar. If you don't have a 12 string, it'll sound better that way. Like that. So this. Then we kind of start this over. Now here, instead of coming back to this chord, this voicing of a D major chord, we're just going to go down to the normal D major chord. So we have this. Repeat. And that takes us into the verse, which is based off of a really nice chord progression. So let me play through this. There's some, for the verse here, it's pretty long, and there's some, a little bit of things, that embellishments added, some, with around the chorus. So you'll see those here. So here we go. So that starts with an E minor chord. Kind of strum it backwards. Strum up there. So it goes from there to a B minor bar chord. So it's a bar at the 2nd fret across 5 strings. And in front of that bar, you're going to have the 3rd fret there on the B, 4th fret on the G, and 4th fret on the D. And there's a little fill that happens going back to the E minor. So it's just a hammer on from 0 to 2 on the A and 0 to 2 on the D. So this. So back at the E minor, back to the E minor, and back to the B minor chord. So what? E minor B, 2 to an A major chord. So just the open A string, second fret across the D, G, and the D. Now what makes this really cool is they go from that A major to an A minor. So it kind of strums across that A minor, and then just kind of pick across it a little bit. We go from there to a G major chord. So before I show you the kind of lick that happens on the G major, let me play through it real quick with what we have so far. Alright, so as soon as you get to this G major chord, there we have this. Once again, this is on a 12 string, so, and I think along with it acoustic as well, so it might sound a little funky, but that's the little lick that they're doing. So just as you're playing that G, you're gonna hammer that 0 to 2 on the A again, and then 0 to 2 on the D, then the open G string, then back to that second fret there on the D string. And then to end it, you can roll if you want to do this, or do it like that. You're hammering on real quick, 0, 2 on the A, and then pulling off 2 to 0 on the D. So might feel better just to use 2 different fingers instead of like that, whatever you feel good with. So we basically have this. So from the A minor, a little bit slower. From there it goes, as soon as you pull off that 2 to 0 on the D, you grab the B minor chord, and then go to a D. So that's really the full progression right there, so all together. Alright, now, when we get to this D major chord, there's a quick little lick that happens. So, we're playing second fret here on the high E string, and quickly hammer on third fret, pull back off to 2. It's a quick little trill. And then we do the same thing between 3 and 5 on the quick little hammer pull on the B string. Same thing between 2 and 4 on the G, and 2 and 4 on the D. So, and then go back, hit that low E string, and start with that chord progression again. So then we start the whole same chord progression through again. A little bit different variations thrown there. Looks like this. So really the only different variation that we had in there was when we went that first E minor on the repeat to that B minor, we had this. So you basically play the B minor chord, then pick the B string and the G string, and then all you do is pick up the note that's on the B string. So it's that second fret that's being held by the bar. So I have this, and then pick this finger up. Now it's going to make it 2 on the B string, down to that 4 on the G, and then come back with that third fret there, just put it back down, and pick across those 2 strings again. Everything else is the same. So basically that B minor was this, instead of leaving it like, it's basically the only difference between the second time through the verse. All right, and then we go back to that same lick. And then we get to what I kind of call it like the first chorus. I mean, there's that big outro chorus, which is uses a different chord progression and stuff. But this almost feels like a chorus to me too as well. It sounds like this. So that's just the G major chord. It's that G, and then it goes to this D major with F sharp in the bass. So we kind of did this in the intro, right? This kind of a more subdued version, I'm thinking. You want to really kind of stop your strumming here at the B string. So I have this F sharp there in the bass, the second fret on the low E string, open A, open D, second fret on the G, third fret on the B. So I have this G, the E, D with F sharp in the bass, and then back to the G, and then to a normal D chord, not with the F sharp in the bass, and the full all the way up to the high E string being held there. So it just sounds a little bit more open on that. So if we have this. We go to an E minor chord, then to a C major chord, and then to a D major chord again. Now here we have a little so that's that D major, and then basically that little we're just making it a sus4 chord by playing the fourth fret there on the high E string, down to, third fret on the high E string, down to the normal D chord, then pick up the note that's on the high E to make it an open high E, which makes it a D sus2 chord, and then back down with the normal D. So with this. So you gotta have that melody on top. And then you do this melody again, but a little slower. Try this. And then the same chorus. Then we get to the solo. So the solo is over the verse chords, but there's no kind of like fancy kind of fills going on. Just straight strumming the chords like the. Just like that. So you just kind of strum it through the chords. And then out of that solo, which I'm going to cover the solo in a second, I'm just going to get through all the rhythm guitar parts first. We get to obviously another chorus, this outro chorus here. Big open chorus, looks like this. outro solo over these chords as well. I'm going to be covering that too. So that's just a G to a D. Obviously on electric guitar it's kind of a bigger sound here. So G to D to E minor and end it with a C. So you're just going to be repeating those through the whole outro chorus. Alright, and then it gets to this really kind of subdued outro section. Oh, it goes. That kind of thing, and just kind of ends on a G. So that's just that G to that D with the F sharp and the bass. Now, once again, there's either a higher voicing going on or the 12 string is doing it, but you hear this high A in there as well too. So if you really want to do that, most people wouldn't. If you want to get that note in there that you can hear on the 12 string, it's probably octave of this A and the 12 string is doing it for him. Like that. Not the most comfortable thing. This sounds fine too. And then just end it with that G chord there. Alright, so now I'm going to grab the Les Paul and go through Frank Hannon's really killer solos here. So I'll be back with you in a second. So that is one of my favorite solos from this whole era. It's just Frank Hannon just kind of crafted something that was just really, really great. Worked really well over that really nice chord progression stuff. So let's take a look at it note for note, and then we're going to check out his outro solo too, so don't worry about that. So we're going to start here with kind of a slide down, starting from the 12th fret on the low E string to the open E, and then we're going to go into some unison bends. That's going to be the 12th fret on the high E along with the 15th fret there on the B. And when you pick those two notes, you're going to bend up the note on the B string until it matches the one on the high E. And then we're going to do the bend at the 15th fret on the B without the note, so without the unison, just a normal bend. Kind of normal bend and release. So we just. And then we have this lick. So that's going to be 12 on the B, hammer on 15, pull back off to 12, into a bend there at the 14th fret there on the G. Over to the 12th fret on the B, roll over to the 12th fret on the high E. So with this. Then we have 15-12 on the B string. And 14-12 on the G twice. So far away this. And then you go down and hit the low E again, and we have this. So that's kind of sliding into the 7th fret there on the A string. over to the 5th fret there on the D. Then you're going to play the 7th fret. You do a bend at the 7th, whole stat bend at the 7th fret on the D. And then pick the D, that 7th fret on the D without the bend. Then hammer 5 to 7 and slide up to 9. And then you're going to hammer 7 to 9 and then go back to 7. So like this. All right, from there we have this. So that's going to be 5-4-2 on the G string, and then 8-7-5 on the high E, just the octave of that. And then you get a hammer on 5 to 7, pull back off to 5, over to the 8th fret there on the B string. Then you're going to jump all the way up here. So that's bending at the 14th fret there on the G string. And as you bend that up, what you're going to do is you're going to bar the 15th fret across the B and the high E. Now you can do that like this. Like that. So whatever you feel more comfortable doing. I'm doing the bend there with my ring finger and holding those notes down with my pinky. Like I said, you can use your ring finger to hold those notes down and do the bend with your middle finger. Regardless, you're going to do that bend, and then a whole set bend, and then you kind of pick across those two strings, the B and the E. You kind of pick them together if you want. You just basically work your way up and then back down to the G string. And pick it and release. Pull off to 12. Over to 14 on the D. And back to 12 on the G. So we have this. All right, and then we have this. So that's here at the 12th fret here. Pick it a few times. Slide down to 11. Then pick it a couple more. A few more, I guess. Slide down to 9. And then do that same thing. Slide down to 7. So like this. Then hammer 7 to 9. Back to 7 on the G. And then we have this little lick that ends it. So you gotta pick the 7th fret a couple times on the D. Hammer on the 9th fret. Over to 7 on the G. Then back to the 9th fret on the D. And then over to the 9th fret there on the G, a couple of bends. And then kind of resolve it down to that 7th fret there on the G. You slide back down, and then we kind of start the second half of the solo with this. Now that's the same thing, pretty close. It's the unison bend is kind of more pronounced the second time through. But really, this lick after that was exactly the same as the first time we heard it at the beginning of the solo. So let's play the exact same way. Back to the open E again, back to these unison bends. And then we have this where he kind of changes things up. So there's a bend there at the 17th fret there on the high string. And then kind of a bend and release.
off to 15, and back to that bend at the 17. And then bend to the 17, release, pull off to 15, and back to 17. So it's just kind of messing around the 15, 17, doing a lot of bends on that 17. All right, and then we have the next phrase, looks like this. So that is a just kind of repeated lick. We're playing 13 to 12 on the B, over to 14 there on the G. Kind of repeat it 4 times. And then come down here to the 10th fret there on the B string. Hammer 12, pull back up to 10, over to 12 on the G. And then we had that same lick that we did earlier, which is really, it's technically called an oblique bend, where you have something moving while the other two are staying the same. But it's the same thing we did before, so. And then the same little descending, kind of descending slide thing we did that in the first half of the solo. Same thing. And now we just have a different ending here. It looks like this. So that's going to be the 5th fret there on the A string, and then a bend and release at the 7th fret on the A. Then back down to that 5th fret. And then what we're going to do is we're going to slide from 7 to 9. 7 to 9 on the A string, then play 7, 9 on the D, up to 7 on the G. And then we have this, we're going to slide into the 11th fret there on the G string, 10th on the B, 10th on the high E, and do a bend of the 13th fret there on the B string. Kind of just, remember, kind of going across D major triads. And then we're go up to this 20th fret there on the high E string. You just got to pick it a few times as you bend it up a whole step. And then it takes you down to the kind of outro chorus, or that G chord. All right, and then over this outro chorus, we have the outro solo. So let me play through that solo real quick for you. Then I'll show you how to play that one note for note. So here we go. All right, so that starts with those bends. We did this a little bit in the first solo. So some bends at the 17th fret there on the high E string. And then as it's bent up, pick it and release. Pull off to 15, back to 17 there. Then over to 15 there on the B string. And then we have this little lick. So that's going to hammer on 15 to 17 on the B. Over to 15 on the high E string. Then back to 17 on the B. Then you do a quick hammer and pull, 15 to 17, pull back up to 15 on the high E. Then play 17, 15 on the B. And then into step and a half bend here at the, you want to make this sound like the 20th fret, the bend at the 17th fret on the B string. So that right there is some double stops here at the 15th fret across the G and the B. And you can, when you play them, you can kind of slightly pull them down towards the floor. Give them a little bit of inflection there. And then play 17, 15, 17 on the D. And then that's going to be those double stops now at the 17th fret there on the B and the G. Back to the double stops at the 15 on the B and the G. And resolve it there at the 17th fret of the G. So it is. All right, from there we have this. So that's another unison bend. I couldn't really catch him doing this exactly live. Sounds kind of like he's doing it. And technique-wise, it kind of makes more sense too. So there's a unison bend here, the 3rd fret on the high E string and the 6th fret there on the B. So you're gonna keep this note stationary and bend up this 6th fret there on the B string up a whole step. Couple of bends there. Release the bend and pull off to the 3rd fret there on the B. Then you got to do the same bend up at the 5th fret. So 5th fret on the high E, 8th on the B string. You do that bend, release the bend, pull off to 5, and then resolve it to the 7th fret there on the G. So, and then we have this lick. So that's going to hammer on 12 to 14 on the D, over to 12 on the G string, back to 14 on the D. Then you're going to do a hammer on and pull off 12 to 14, pull back up to 12 on the G, and then play 14, 12 on the D. So with this. And then he starts doing some bends here at the 14th fret. He bends it kind of a whole set bend first. And then he starts overbending it a little bit. And then he picks it as his bend, kind of a pre-bend release, and resolves it there to the 12th fret on the G. And then we get to the little outro, that really quiet outro. So 2 really killer solos by Frank Hannon. So I was glad I could finally take a crack at them, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.